I'm going to go through your photographs. This is Taylor again. Yeah, I read, and I see that you've decided to photograph in the San Bernardino Mountains in California. It looks like a really beautiful place, and I've actually never been there. I've heard a lot about it over the years. And California is, like I said, I haven't spent much time in, barely really any at all. Um, but yeah, some of these look really, really awesome. Yeah, kind of scrolling through again one more time. I love the moon. I like that you're doing all of that. Nice. Okay. Yeah, to start back here at the top. So most of them look like they're really like well exposed, etc. And the lighting is really nice. This one though, it's like I don't know if you cropped in or there's like a lot of noise going on and it's not quite the same as the other ones. So this one's kind of an outlier for me where some of them are a lot stronger. This one isn't quite as nice. I understand what you're doing, but technically there's some like issues with it. Um, yeah, but this starts to get really beautiful. I mean, you can see the kind of difference in the quality. There's not as much noise going on, and like this kind of weird artificial color, and like almost looks like giant pixels. But with this, so I love how you have the purple here in the front with the mountains in the background are kind of like this valley. What I would like though, and ideally, especially when you do landscape, everything or people generally want to see everything in focus. So like if you were able to, I'm not sure what kind of camera you're using, if you're able to use like a lower number and sorry, a higher number and a lower opening on your shutter. So it'd be like an f-stop, like an f22 or f16 maybe, with something like this, where everything would be in focus, and that would be like the ideally what you'd want to see with landscapes. This is nice too, and I actually love one of my favorite parts of this is this road, because every time I look at this photograph like a few times, I've looked at it a few times now, and every time I look at it, I start to I see this road, and I think it's like a Photoshop error or something. So I kind of just like that disruption, and that it's not like this perfect valley. There's evidence of us around in here too. Yeah, and this is really nice. I really like this like kind of patch of these firs right here in the foreground. It's really pretty how this shape is going up and then this shape kind of is concave like this. Like the way the two work together are just great. It's like forming like a really beautiful photograph. And the exposure looks really nice as well. All the technically looks like a good photograph too. There's not any problems like that first one that had the noise issues. This looks really solid. And this is cool too. I'm curious. It looks like maybe like a raven. I can't quite tell what it is, but I appreciate that you're looking up and you're taking these other details, as part of the landscape as well. I see some, and sometimes in some of your photographs, I'm seeing like these little spots, like right here and here and here. These kind of spots, these are like dust spots on your sensor. It's something just to be aware of, and they really pop up, and obviously like blue backgrounds like this, big blue sky backgrounds, and also in like white backgrounds. So there's like a way in Photoshop or in Lightroom, there's like a clone tool that you can go through and remove all these, but ideally you want to get your sensor cleaned if you can, depending on what kind of camera you have, so that you don't have these little spots pop up all the time. And this one is really beautiful. It's really awesome. I love this light, this quality of light, just kind of like beaming down perfectly on these homes. It's just really, really awesome, and I wish that I lived there. Again, you can see some of these spots pop up again, so just kind of keep that in mind. And if like these were your final prints or your final like photographs that you would submit for a project, you want to go through and just remove those in Lightroom or Photoshop or some sort of editing software. But this reminds me so much like a European city. It's crazy. It looks really beautiful. This is like great, like really really well done with the timing and the light and the composition too. With this dead tree in the foreground here, it works. It's not quite as sharp as maybe ideally you'd want it, but it works okay for me. It's fine. And this is okay too. It gets a little dark in the shadows here and there, but it's okay. You did a good job not getting this blown out in the sky, so like really great, great job there. And this, I really do appreciate this that you're down and getting like a detail of the space too, like these smaller spaces like this and that bird. They like just add more to the space, so it's not just a landscape, not just a typical, uh, you know, look out across a vista, look down across a canyon, that kind of photograph, which those work well. But if you have 10, 15, or 20 of them in a row, they start to become repetitive. So these kind of photographs and the one of the bird, they become like something that kind of break up that repetitiveness and really add to the overall like series of photographs. And it's something that I would kind of encourage you to add more into. And this looks like it's a part of like a close-up version of this one. And honestly, I really like this one a lot more than just this kind of vertical shot here. Yeah, I like the other one much more. It's stronger. I like the light is nice, but the other light is actually a little bit softer light, and I kind of prefer that more. Yeah. This is nice though too. You have like kind of the mountain here in the background with the snow. It's something I don't see in Arizona right now. Um, yeah, that's really nice back there. And I like the composition that you have that off center. Yeah, this is nice too. I like how you have these again frame like with these branches going through. It's nice to have something break up the frame like that. Nice too. Nice. Is this okay? Looks like the focus is a little bit soft here. It looks really better back there. So really check your camera settings. Make sure you're shooting on manual and you have use like a if you have a DSLR, the sharpest and especially if like this, like a depth of field, like an f8 or an f11, somewhere in there is going to give you like really the sharpest photographs possible. And when you're really far away like this, at the depth of field, it'll be okay. You can focus on this mountain right here, and everything should be in focus like perfectly at f8 to f11. It's okay too. I like these in the foreground, these dead firs. Um, so overall, you have like some really great exposures. You have some good photographs. I do like this with the moon. Um, yeah, the what I would suggest you to work on are like add the kind of things are like these details. Your eye composition is great. Like this is really beautiful. I like I like this bird. So that's another detail. I like this composition quite a bit. A number of the compositions are strong. So I would just push you conceptually just to kind of look down a little bit more, look up a little bit more. Who else is in the space now? Who else maybe has been in the space before? You can look at like Mark Klett's work. I'm sure that Betsy, I think she did talk about him in one of her screencasts or whatever. But his work, he deals a lot with time and people and space throughout time. So he would like find a photograph of this place in 1900 or late 1800s or something like that before this road was built, and then show that photograph alongside with this or superimpose one over the other one in Photoshop as a way to speak about history. So you can do similar kind of things or think in those terms also. You can think of going back in time, going forward, going, what's happening in this space and not just the space itself. But yeah, great job overall, and I look forward to seeing what you do next time around. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me.